What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here for, of course, Jack Hermansson versus Marvin Vettori. The card has slightly been decimated, hasn't it? Within the last hour or so, we've had 3 fights being cancelled, one being postponed till December 19th. But it's an unfortunate one. Obviously, Evloev versus Landwehr. We've lost Taylor Santos versus Marina Moroz, of course. And we've lost Jimmy Slick versus Cody Duran. So it's been an unfortunate night, and of course with 2020 everything's changing minute by minute, and of course that has meant the card is going to be starting an hour later with just the 8 fights on it now. Still 8 fantastic fights on there, and the main event is going to be one that could impact the middleweight division quite severely. Of course, Marvin Vettori stepping in after both Kevin Holland and Darren Till had to pull out of their fight with Jack Hermansson for various reasons, a COVID test, I believe, and obviously Till's injury with that knee off the Robert Whittaker fight. It hadn't quite healed up properly, and it got back into training, obviously re-injured it, and not let it fully heal from originally injuring it. So he hasn't been able to compete tonight, and we probably won't see him till now March, maybe February, March, even April time at the very maximum you'd expect. But I do feel sorry for Jack Hermansson, obviously having 3 different opponents, in the space of 3-4 weeks, I think, or maybe 5 weeks since Darren Till pulled out of the fight at least. So obviously he would have been in camp, or had just started his camp for Darren Till, and obviously it's changed ever since. Now, personally, I was very happy for the Kevin Holland fight. I've become a big fan of Kevin Holland after the work he's done this year, especially on this latter end of this year, fighting almost monthly at this point, and he's supposed to be fighting tonight, of course. And it would have been a big, a huge sort of reward for the work he's put in this year, and he would have deserved it. And should he have got the win tonight, he would have been my fighter of the year. But unfortunately, COVID put an end to that one, and obviously we're stepping in tonight with again an all-European main event, as we would have had originally. Just this time that the Italian Marvin Vettori steps in, and again, he probably deserves this spot too. Obviously, he's in the rankings at 13. He's 15-3-1, and of course, he's had a horrendous year. If you look at the amount of cancellations he's had in the past, these past 12 months, and I'm looking at his record now. Andrew Sanchez, September 9th or September 14th, 2019 was a cancellation. So he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 cancellations within the past 14 months, which is not what you want for your career. Obviously, he's 27, so he's still very young, but he's coming into his peak, and he needs to be fighting as regularly as possible. 3-4 times a year, if that's possible for him. But he did beat Cole Robertson this year. Those two had a lot of bad blood going into that one. Obviously, after the 2 cancellations, the original one being on 25th April, of course, at 2-9, then the original or the rescheduled 2-9 card on the 13th of May. But unfortunately, I think on the day, Cole Robertson didn't make the weigh-ins, or he at least tried to make the weigh-ins, but he ended up in hospital that day. And obviously, Marvin Vettori and them two did cross paths, and it wasn't too friendly. But they did get in the cage eventually, and Marvin Vettori defeated Cole Robertson via rear naked choke in the very first round. So that's a 3-fight win streak that he's on now, and he's someone who's coming up in that division. He's someone you've got to put your eye on. Of course, his last loss was to Israel Adesanya. Many thought that Vettori had won that fight. Obviously, the now 2-time defending middleweight champion Israel Adesanya won that in the judges' eyes, and obviously has gone on to create some incredible moments. But a win tonight for Vettori. We'll have a quick look at the rankings. Of course, he's up against number 4 in the rankings, Jack Hermansson. So a win tonight would put him right back into that title mix, and a lot closer to a rematch with Adesanya than, with all due respect, Jacare and Mario Kamedov would have done, which was his original scheduled opponents for next week at 256. Obviously now, Yoel Romero still is within the rankings, but it did come out also yesterday. Yoel Romero is no longer in the UFC, so he'll be taken out of the rankings too, and everyone will be pushed up a step. So even a loss tonight for Vettori would put him up to at least 12th. But the middleweight division's looking very fragrant right now. You got obviously Adesanya at the top, but Whittaker's coming off the win. Paulo Costa obviously coming off the loss to Adesanya. Jared Cannonier lost to Robert Whittaker, but was on a good streak to that beat tonight's Red Corner and Jack Hermansson. Obviously, Yoel Romero puts a good fight, and hopefully we'll see him in Bellator, PFL, I think PFL could do with a star like that in Romero, who can fight 4 times, although he doesn't fight that regularly anymore due to his age. So maybe Bellator is the place to go. They need some help in their development of the middleweight division too. And who doesn't want to see Gegard Mousasi versus Yo Romero? So you got Darren Till in there. Derek Brunson, Calvin Gastelum, who's become the forgotten man in this division a little bit. It was only just over a year and a half ago now that he was fighting. He tried to send it for the belt, and obviously this time last year, he thought Darren Till in what was quite a war again. Some people thought that Calvin Gastelum won that fight, and Jack Hermansson and Calvin Gastelum crossed paths back in April now, I believe April, May at least. Sorry, not April. That's when the cancellations was and the postponements. But it was back in July, of course, this year, and he heel hooked Calvin Gastelum inside a minute and 20 seconds there with a bit of change on 1 minute 18. So yes, Calvin Gastelum has become the forgotten man. But tonight we look at the Joker, Jack Hermansson, who I believe is maybe the dark horse in here. Obviously, a former Cage Warriors middleweight champion. He's got the pedigree. He's got the experience now at 21-5. And he's 32 years of age, he's coming to his prime. Maybe he's on a bit of a trajectory like Jan Blachowicz was, who's 37. Who's you look at him going, can he be world champion? He might have the qualities, but whenever he's put on the big stage, it doesn't quite, get the reward for his tough work. Obviously, Jared Cannonier was the loss before that fight with Calvin Gastelum, and he was on a bit of a wrecking ball in terms of the names he's going through. Jack Hermansson, David Branch, Jared Mearshot, Tellers, Leites. Pardon me if I butchered that name, but he was on a 4-fight win streak before that. Obviously, before that, he lost to Thiago Santos. So he's got some phenomenal wins on his resume. And beating Marvin Vettori might not look too good right now in terms of, with all due respect, because it's not a big name or because it's not someone who progresses him too far up the ranks. It's not a title shot. It's not Robert Whittaker, with all due respect. But his defending is almost positioned here for the title shot. If he wins tonight, you'd imagine he gets matched up with maybe Paulo Costa. You'd imagine at least, and you get a number 1 title shot. I'd imagine again, to go back to the rankings, Robert Whittaker gets the next shot, rightfully so, after his win against Jared Cannonier. Do you rebook Darren Till versus Jack Hermansson? Hope that fight plays out. Kevin Holland's actually now facing Jack Ray now after those two switch places, Marvin Vettori and Kevin Holland. So if Kevin Holland beats Jack Ray Souza, would you expect him to come out and call out Jack Hermansson? But the middleweight division's fun right now. Obviously, you got Chris Weidman resurging. I think he's fighting Uriah Hall very soon, who's on a bit of the resurgence after his win against Anderson Silva. Yeah, I think the middleweight division's thriving at the moment. Obviously, you've got Adesanya at the helm. The question mark is if Adesanya goes up a weight class and takes on Jan Blachowicz, what happens then? Because he's then putting the division on hold. He has gone through three or four of those top ranked guys now, and he is slowly clearing out that division. But there's still work there for him to be done. Jack Hermansson, Jared Cannonier, he's probably a win away, 2 wins away maybe now. And you're looking at Darren Till. If Darren Till gets a good win, he's got a big name behind him. You can put that title fight. Those two have been going at each other quite banterously and in a humorous way. So you can put that fight too. Those are really the 3 names I'd pick before. I'd like to see Adesanya bounce up to challenge the light heavyweight champion in Jan Blachowicz. But again, it's a business world and a business decision and a sporting decision as well. And you look at Adesanya's, he's not the bulkiest of guys, but his reach and his the qualities that a lot of them are larger than most light heavyweights that we're seeing at the moment, especially the champion. I think he actually might only be the champion that has a longer reach than Adesanya in the light heavyweight division, at least. Obviously, he's on that path to John Jones as well, who's now up to heavyweight, so we could see, it wouldn't be out of the realm to see Adesanya face the light heavyweight champion and maybe fight the heavyweight champion John Jones, should that be how the story plays out. But, you never know, do you? And it's hard to tell. But back to tonight, Jack Hermansson, should he get a win tonight, he's got to be in the picture for title shots after Robert Whittaker at least. And yeah, I would book Paulo Costa versus Jack Hermansson. Equally, if Vettori wins tonight, you're probably looking at maybe Darren Till. You're looking at, Vettori, Paulo Costa would be a fun one. Vettori, Jared Cannonier would also be a fun one after both of them coming off the back of the losses. And he's going to be in that top 4, top 5 with a win tonight. Should Vettori get it done? And we'll have a quick look at the tail of the tape, of course. 21-5 versus 12-3-1. I was getting my sources off UFC.com, and Tapology here has got them a little different at 15-3-1. So obviously got 6-1 versus 6, both in that 185 bracket. And you see Jack Hermansson has got the quite larger reach at 77.5 inches up against 74. So he's got a 3.5 reach advantage, and he's got a 5.5 reach advantage in the leg reach. So, Marvin Vettori is going to have his work cut out in terms of getting into the clinch, and, if he almost takes light to the ground. But I think this could be a stand-up battle. And it could be one for the ages, whether it goes 5 rounds, I'm not sure. But, it would be nice if they went 5 rounds. And I don't say that as a joke either. It'd be nice to see these two go back and forth, and at the end we'd get a potential fight of the year candidate, especially for the European market. At least it would be nice to see that. It's not often we get 2 Europeans fighting on a main event in a main card for a fight night. A lot, Darren Till, probably Leon Edwards. You're looking at obviously McGregor being from Ireland, of course. That Europe's thriving at the moment with MMA, and it's nice to see a main event, especially the week before Cage Warriors the Trilogy strikes back as well. It's a nice showcase and exhibition for the European talent at the moment. Now moving on, of course, we go to OSP versus Jamal Hill, of course, and you know what? When I was looking at Hill's record, 7-0, and he's been put in there with OSP, which many say was John Jones' almost toughest opponent in terms of, John Jones had some time out due to suspensions and whatnot, and he came back against OSP, and OSP gave him a good run through his money, and a lot of people use that maybe as a pinpoint of John Jones on and off PEDs, of course. It's tough to say, but OSP came back. Alonzo Menifield, he beat also a Dana White Contender Series alumni, of course. He faces another one tonight. Two, who's 7-0, Darko Stozic, beating his, I guess you call it full UFC debut now, after beating Alexander Popek at the Contender Series. Before that, he's on KOP. So yeah, he's got a good record on him, and beating an OSP, is going to be phenomenal. He's got a no contest on his record as well, Clidson Abreu, back in May, 30th of May. So that would have been a week after 249 and the return of the UFC. But yes, a fight against OSP, a win with OSP on your record, who's now in the rankings, of course. I think he's 15th or 14th in the ranking. So if Hill wins tonight, he gets put straight into the top 15 of the light heavyweight division now, which is thriving again too, with the removal of John Jones up to heavyweight, of course. But yeah, this is a good fight for me. It's not one that obviously I think the main event is probably again the main attraction here, and that's why the card is built that way. But I think Vincent Prue versus Jamal Hill could have a fight tonight potential, performance and night bonus. At least one of these two could be walking away with 50k. OSP obviously did try and experiment moving up to heavyweight against Ben Rothwell, went to a split decision loss. So a loss tonight, could it mean he moves back up to heavyweight? Is he happy at light heavyweight? Is he found his groove again? Because he was on a little bit of a streak, and then he's very much someone who wins 2 then loses the next 3 at the moment. So it's tough to say how this fight's going to go. But again, Jamal Hill, probably 29 years of age, is coming into his prime again. But again, OSP's got a lot of experience on his side tonight with those 39 professional fights up against the 7. So I'm going to go. I have actually backed OSP for this one, but I think you can never disregard the power of Jamal Hill. But again, those OSP or Von Flue chokes, as they're officially tied to it, we could see another one tonight, and that would be definitely something special. But yes, I'm going to go with an OSP win tonight, and that moves us on nicely to Gabriel Benitez versus Justin James, of course. These two are the third fight if you're working your way down from main event downwards, and it's an okay fight. It's in give me a second. It is in, obviously, is it in the lightweight division or featherweight division? I've not done my homework yet. Give me 2 seconds. In the lightweight division, of course. with Justin James in there, obviously, Benitez as moved. Actually, no, sorry, Justin James, pardon me, has moved up to the lightweight division, of course, for this one. And you may be looking at Gabriel Benitez's, 3 losses in his last 5. He's lost to Sadiq Youssef, Omar Morales. He's got wins over Jason Knight and Humberto Bandone, and you're probably looking at maybe if you're Justin James, looking at this one, albeit he did lose to Gavin Tucker, and you're thinking maybe this one's a bit more favourable for him. He's had wins over Frank Camacho. He's had a good run with 5 wins out of his last 6, albeit he is coming off the back of the loss. So you're looking at 5-7 versus what? Let's see, 5-7 versus 5-8, reached 71 for Benitez, 67.5 for Justin James. But again, a very solid bout, and one that again, it could be a potential fight of the night, or at least performance of the night bonus. Both of those know how to bring it. But again, this card, and obviously this isn't the UFC's thought, this is more the COVID related thought, and obviously that can't be helped. But it does still, I think I saw this week that it's the 6th card that we've seen, with the main event changing in a row. And that's perfectly fine. Things happen, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard to almost get up for the game, or up for the fights, could you say? But again, I'll be tuning in nonetheless. You're looking at, I think, 8 fights in total have been cancelled for this card tonight, and we're down to 8. Now, talking about European MMA, obviously the Georgians are back on the show tonight. Roman Dolidze and Ilia Topuria. Obviously, both of these two undefeated at 7-0 and 9-0 respectively, and they're going to be looking to extend that undefeated streak tonight with of course, Roman Dolidze facing John Allen, of course, and he's at 13-5 now. John Allen, of course. Let's have a look at his last bouts, of course. Give me 1 second. Obviously, he's coming off a win against Alexandre Silva after a loss to Vinicius Moreira in his Dana White Contender Series appearance. He then went back to fought on Future FC, and he's come back into the fight against Mike Rodriguez in 2019, and of course that was made a no contest. So for me, you're looking at this one going, Roman Dolidze should be getting the win here tonight. He's up against, again, a very youthful 27-year-old John Allen. But again, Dolidze himself, 32, a bit more. Well, he's got. I was going to say he's more experienced. He's not, is he? With the record of 13-5. But obviously, Ilia Topuria, and we're getting later now. It's midnight. These cards are getting later and later. We'll try to be a UK fan. But yes, 23 years of age. Jesus, Ilia Topuria is the same age as me. He'll be 24 in January this year, or coming up January 2021. And he's against Damon Jackson. Obviously, he beat Yusuf Zalal in his UFC debut, and again, he's fought on Brave, Cage Warriors, fantastic European outlets and promotions that you're seeing. They're probably, other than Bellator Europe, you're probably looking at Brave and Cage Warriors as the benchmark for European talent now. And the fact that he's 9-0, is going to put him in good stead. Damon Jackson, of course, like himself over in the States, is coming off the back of a 2-fight win streak against Mirsad Bekic and Maro Chalet. Yeah, I'm going to say Chalet in LFA 83, of course. And, he's got, a fantastic submission game. But you're probably expecting Ilia Topuria to get this one on the feet, of course. Although, I've just seen on his record, he has got 4 submission wins in a row between mixed fight events, Cage and Cage Warriors 94, Brian Bouland via Anaconda Choke. So if I'm betting tonight, I'm probably saying a submission win, but I would probably just edge it towards Ilia Topuria. But this one could be one of those ones where we're spending 8 minutes of the 15 in control between the two, and we're just looking at all of these two, grappling on the ground, looking at submission attempts. Probably over 3 or 4 submission attempts, I'd imagine. But this one, now I've seen this one's going to be my fight tonight. I think these two are going to bring in. We're going to see some fun in this one. Obviously, that's on the UFC prelims, which kick off in an hour. But yes, all in all, a fantastic card. Well, it is a fantastic card, and these cards that maybe on paper don't look good. Last week performed excellently and I think tonight will be as well, especially that main event. I'm buzzing to see how Marvin Vettori does, and Jack Hermansson, of course. The Joker will either pull another trick out of this box and, progress on to eventually fighting that title against Adesanya. Imagine. I think Jack Hermansson with the win tonight probably gets a title shot in probably August, September-ish. You're looking if Adesanya was to fight Robert Whittaker or Jan Blachowicz in March. Either way that goes. But anyway, yes, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit like and follow on the YouTube page and on the Facebook page, of course, if you're watching on here. And I'll see you guys on the next video.